Hey, baby girl. This is your finance tutor again. I thought I'd try something fancy with a video. I've got my iPad mounted up on top of the suitcase up here. But let's just sort of talk through these problems one by one. So the problem 14, weighted average cost of capital. So just the concept here is if we go down and look at this company's balance sheet, they have capital coming from several different sources. They've got short-term debt, long-term debt, and then they've got equity, which isn't necessarily this value, but I'll point to that. The market value, the equity is not necessarily the market value, this number. We'll compute that later. But I think it's fair to assume, unless they tell you otherwise, the market value of the debt are these two numbers. And it says the interest rate or the return 6% on short term and 8% on long term. And then they said the expected rate of return on the company shares is 15%. So this is where it gets a little tricky. So that would be based on the market value, 15% on the market value of the equity, which may, and matter of fact, usually has nothing to do with this number. This is a historical number. So the idea here is you have three sources of capital, and you want to compute the weighted average. You've got three different costs, and you want to compute the weighted average cost. But you want to account for the tax effect because the interest on debt is tax deductible, so it saves you tax dollars. Equity, return on equity is complicated, but dividends are not tax deductible, and if you sell the stock, that's doesn't have anything to do with the company. That has to do with shareholders. So there's really no tax benefits to the company. There's some significant benefits to the person that owns the shares, but not the company of equity. But there are tax benefits for the debt. So, but how would we get what the value of this equity is? Well, they say there's 7.46 million shares times $46 a share. So that equals, should have got my calculator out here before. If you're a real finance nerd, you use a 12C calculator, which has RPN, reverse Polish notation, and that's not an inappropriate joke. That's what's called. So the equity is 343.16 million, and we got 75.6 million here dollars of short-term debt, and 208.6 million of long-term debt. So here's the critical numbers: there, and then one more number is the tax rate. Up here is 35%. So tax rate equals 35%. So now if you go back to the formula you sent me for weighted average cost of capital here, I think you've got all the values you need. So this is the value of the equity. That's the return on the expected return on the equity. This is the value of the debt. This is the tax rate, expected return on the debt. Now the only trick here is you're going to have two of these terms because there's two different types of debt. I suppose you could do a weighted average between those two numbers and those two rates. But this is the total value, the V. So that's you would add all three of those values up. So it'd be 75.6 plus 208.6 plus 343.6. That all equals 75.6, 208.6, So 627.8 is the total value of the equity and the debt of the firm. So the percentage of equity is 343.6 divided by 627.8. 343.6. Convert that. So equity makes up about 55%, 54.7% of the total capital structure. And the equity, the problem says, requires a 15% return. So you just do a basic weighted average calculation. And then the debt, I guess you could, but like if you want to get fancy, you could say DS for debt short term, and then just repeat all that with, DL for debt long term. But the short term is 75.6 divided by 627.8. So short term, this is equity. Short term is 0.120%, or fraction of the capital. So debt short term, and then 208.6 divided by 627.8. And so the debt long term is 33.2. And let's check to make sure those all add up to 100%. And they do, 1.00. So you've accounted for all the capital structure with these three. So, and of course the tax rate's 0.35. And that's how you compute the weighted average cost of capital. Hope that helps.